And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Nightfall. Martial Law is an expansion and a complete standalone game. It is based on the Nightfall universe, which I guess I would say is closest to the movie universe of Underworld, where we got vampires and werewolves and humans all fighting against each other for really, I'm not sure what reason. I guess dominance, but they're just constant fighting. And that's what you're doing in this deck building game. Now, if you've never seen my review before, then I recommend you check out my review of Nightfall and then come back here because I'm going to talk about this as an expansion, even though it can be played as both. Again, fantastic artwork, nice cards. My opinion on the game remains fairly steady. Let's look at this expansion. Well, this game definitely takes care of one of the problems that I had with Nightfall, and that was that I thought it wasn't varied enough. It needed more cards. Well, here we have enough cards. This comes with dividers. You know, AEG has shown itself to be the leader when it comes to being able to sort out deck building games. Come on, Rio Grande. Let's see if we can do the same thing now. But they have all these even for some promo cards which aren't in the game. But you have these dividers. And then it also comes with a whole bunch of these normal loser cards that you have at the beginning of each turn. So you can play with big multiplayer games now. There's no way I'm doing that. I still think this is a great, great three-player game. And also very, very fun two-player game. Four players starts pushing it. There's no way I'm playing with more than that. Now, if you remember, the original game had a bunch of wounds, and this one also has the same kind of wounds, but it also has a new kind of wound. And it says martial law at the top in case you get confused. But this wound, instead of discarding during the cleanup phase, you discard it during the combat phase. And it increases the strength of your target minion by 1. And this card can also be fed. What does that mean? This is a new concept to this set, and that's called feed. If you notice here, let's take a little bit closer look at the card here. At the bottom here it says feed. Discard 1 wound. Limit 1 wound effect per turn. So if you do this wound, you can't do the other one. But what does feed discard 1 wound mean? Whenever you have a feed effect on any of your cards, that means you can continue to do that card over and over again as long as you meet the requirements of feed. So for example, here I increase the strength of my target minion by 1. But for each other wound I discard from my hand, I can do that again. So if I have 3 wounds in my hand, one of my minions is going to rock down this turn. Feeding continues on. For example, on this card here, the Sleep and Clear, you can see that in the chain you discard 1 card. I mean, you draw 1 card. But you can discard 2 cards to do that again. And then discard 2 cards to do that again. And you can feed as long as you can meet the requirements, which obviously here you wouldn't be able to continuously do. Or here, you know, gain 3 influence, and you can discard 2 cards to do that again and again and again. This is one of the coolest cards in the set. It's expensive. You can see it costs 5 to use. But in a chain, your target minion inflicts damage on itself and its controller equal to its strength. Ho, ho, ho. I mean, because there's a lot of really powerful minions out there that at this point in time, between this set and the other set, and so this can help stop them. But speaking of minions, here's one. I like this guy because he stays in play until he's discarded, and he can't be targeted by destroy effects. So the chance of him, I mean, he's not as powerful maybe as some of the other guys, but he does attack for 3. It's a strength of 3. But you can get him out there, and hopefully he can survive until he attacks. But, and why is he doesn't want to be destroyed? Because of cards like this, or other cards that are coming up. But here we have the Shining Cross. Yeah. Inflict 1 damage on each player equal to the number of vampires they have in play. Yeah, that will teach you to use vampires. Here's a really powerful werewolf. When he attacks 5, but when you attack with him, you have to exile a card from your hand. Now, that could be good or bad. It's great if you have wounds in your hand. It's bad if you don't. But you can just keep him in your hand until you get a wound in your hand or to a card you don't want. So you can use him and pick and choose to make him very powerful. And also, if you kicker him, I mean, you can destroy a target minion. This guy's just very useful. Bleak Resurrection. Here you can place target minions from your discard pile into play. And you can feed. You can keep doing this as long as you discard 1 card. So, with a good chain and a hand of cards you don't want, you can get a lot of minions out on the board, even, without having to chain them. I like this card a lot. And this Relentless Grinder, too, where target players discard down to 5 cards and receive a wound card for each card discarded. If someone is using some kind of special ability or whatever to get a big hand of cards, this is just the thing to stop them. Another useful vampire. Wounds that you discard are worth 3 influence. So you can get rid of wounds and have a lot of purchasing power when you use the Queen here. Headshot. You can just get rid of a target minion, but you take a wound and then get rid of this card. But still, you're exiling that minion. So that guy has that annoying werewolf in play. You can headshot the werewolf out. And we have a couple hunters here. You draw 1 card at the end of your cleanup phase. This card stays in play until destroyed. Again, another card that just stays out there until someone gets rid of it. Bait and switch. Target order in a chain does not resolve its chain text. Now that's a very useful thing to have because again, you have these big long chains with all these cool special effects and you can stop them with this card. Here we have another vampire which can discard a card at the end of your combat phase. Prevent this minion from being discarded. So there's a lot of... So this guy can hit you. I mean, look at that. For 4. Discard a card. He's still around for the next round. These are just some really powerful people. But they're not so powerful that things like the Silver Stake, which destroys a target vampire and destroys a target lycanthrope. And here we have another guy that stays in play until destroyed. And this is the last card I'm going to show you from the set. There's more than this, but you'll have to look at them yourself. But I like this one a lot. Legion 10. This card absorbs all damage from minions it blocks. It's still destroyed, but still, if you get hit, this card gets hit, with that 5 werewolf. He only takes 1 damage, but he absorbs the other 4 damage. Very useful thing, and if he doesn't, he's a useful blocker, but he also hits for 4. So, a very cool card to have in the set. So here we have Nightfall. Now, to me, the biggest thing about this expansion is the fact that it is an expansion. I liked Nightfall, but I said it needed more variety. Now I have that more variety. I have tried this as a standalone game, and I felt about it pretty much exactly as I felt about the base game. Fun, but I like some more variety. And you have to be kind of careful. I play the more extreme draft methods where you see most of the cards in the game before you draft your cards so that you don't get stuck with a couple cards that don't chain up with anything. There's more possible chains now because of the greater number of cards. The new feed mechanic is good. The new creatures are good. As a standalone set, I wonder if this one isn't as interesting as the original set because here they're trying to bring in new stuff, but they didn't leave in some of the old standby stuff. So I think it's best when mixed with the original set. Since you can fit them both in the same box, you're fine anyway. So, does that sound like an all-over-the-place recommendation? Well, here's the deal. If you're watching this, you probably already own Nightfall, and so you're just seeing whether you want to get this expansion. Well, yes, definitely yes, get it. If this is the first time you want to buy this game, I actually would recommend the original set, getting that first before getting this one. But if you get this one, you can still play the game, and you're not going to run into any problems. The extra kind of wound card, that's unique and interesting, and that's something I very much like about this game. So, it's good. And when you combine it with the original expansion, much gooder.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.